Hello, my name is Jonathan Saunders, and today we're going to talk about a foreign product that I'd like to introduce in a foreign country. And the market I want to focus on is ICT. And in just a second, I'm about to tell you what country I want to invest in. So let's get started. Okay, so the first of all, the country I want to invest in is Egypt. The reason why I want to invest in Egypt is because of the literacy rate. The literacy rate is 74.5%, which is a relatively lower than the other countries like in Africa, like Morocco, Tunisia, Algeria. Those are very high literacy rate countries, about in the 80 to 90% literacy rate. So there's a big difference. The only one that's about on par with Egypt is Nigeria. So that's why it was either a choice between Nigeria and Egypt. I feel like our product will be better introduced in Egypt. So there's two reasons why the literacy rate in Egypt is low. One is the citizens, and two is the lack of educational places in in Egypt. So let's talk about the first one. There's an interview. They interviewed the head of the education department lead. His name is Mohammed Nassif. And he basically gave an interview. He had a key quote saying the main reason for the illiteracy is often the lack of nearby education facilities. And that's a big thing overall in Egypt. There's not a lot of educational facilities there. So that's the main reason why the literacy is so low, because there's not a lot of opportunities for people to learn. And second of all, it's the government. There is some corruption in Egypt. That about 60% of the population is about poor. So, and citizens are claiming that they're ruled by a dictatorship, and their lives are becoming horrible every second moving on. So their healthcare is also just as bad. Poor access to citizens, the cost of living has increased, also due to the fact that none of the people get an opportunity to learn to get better jobs. So they're stuck with the low paying jobs. So that's the main reason why that as well. And there's a big segregation line between poor and rich people in Egypt. That's a big thing as well. And yeah, my goal is to bring a product into Egypt, and I want to increase the literacy rate and also brings um help the poor and the middle class Egyptians in their everyday lives. That's my goal. That's what I'm gonna focus on here. Now, this graph right here is basically a graph comparison of Egypt in 2006 versus in 2022. As you can see, is steadily increasing, so that is a good thing, but it's still a very low rate. Like I think in 2006, it was 66.37%, which is about almost half of the citizens basically can't read or write. So, but I mean, it's a little bit higher than half, but it's still that's pretty bad as a country. You would obviously be think that's a concern that you need to focus on. And but in 2022, it was like I said earlier, it's 74.5%. So it's increased by a whole 10%, 10, 11, 12%. So that's good overall, but it's still very low compared to high power countries and the countries nearby it, like Algeria. Like, I think Algeria is 90% literacy rate, which is just a big difference. So seeing that graph, I want to implement an educational product to help Egypt out. Let's get started. So my product, what I want to do is I want to introduce a cost-effective, school-effective computer in the ICT market. That is my goal. I want to increase the literacy rate for all for Egypt. and make it on par with all the other countries as well. So right now, the importing situation in Egypt is, well, we have the graphs I'm about to get into later on. It's gonna have the imported goods and the output goods, etc. That's what we're gonna get into. That's the graph right there. I didn't mean to click that, but I'll get to that in a second. Well, like I was saying, Egypt imports a lot of ICT goods instead of exporting. So that's the reason why I want to get into the ICT market. They import more than they export those goods. So that's the main reason why. And there's the Egypt is controlled by the MCIT. That's the thing that they're basically a ministry that controls the telecommunication market, make sure everything is good, then make sure the regulations are up to par. So that's the main thing that you have to worry about in Egypt. Yeah, that's all I had on that one. Um, Imported, exported good countries for Egypt. So right here is the top 10 countries for exporting and importing that Egypt does. This is very important because it shows our competitors. They'll when I introduce my product. So as you see in the graph, Turkey is one of the big ones for exporting, and China for import. And so that's mainly the big country that's gonna be I have to focus on, consider when I'm doing my products and I'm trading with Egypt. And the top 10 exported goods and imported goods, as you can see, they both have the number one thing is oil and mineral fuels. That's how Egypt makes most of their money, by sending out oil and receiving oil. So that's the main thing you have to mainly focus on. That's it. Next slide, the ICT market potential. So obviously the potential is very high. Why? Because the literacy is low. So if we introduce cost-effective computers, the people have more opportunities to learn and experience a lot of life now. It also can help middle class and low people trying to apply for jobs, trying to get information on jobs, finding jobs. It overall helps the well-being of everybody in the country. So, like I was saying earlier, the MCIT ministry is already controlling that market. So we don't really have to worry about a loss in investment. I just have to work together with the ministry and everything will be just fine. I just have to keep in mind, research more, and I'll be very good. There are some organizations that are some high competitors, like the NTRA, ITIDA, NDI, etc. Those are big organizations in that market. So those will be some competitors I have to watch out for. But main thing is I can form partnerships with them as well if I want to enter the market. So that's the one thing I'll be looking out for in the future. Oh, and the government also has incentives for people to come into the market. There's very good benefits there. So that's one thing that I'll try to take advantage of as well. The Minister of Park, so recently Egypt, they did a new project with 6 different projects, and it's basically have labs, IT equipment, etc. in these parks. So that's one thing that they're trying to do to improve the ICT market. And because of that, I'll be trying to help out with that. And honestly, once my cost-effective computer enters the market, it should overall help out the country, because like I said earlier, everybody will have more technology and laptops to do extra everyday activities, like basically like applying for job, shopping online, finding goods, etc. that's what my computer will do for the market. Now, like I was saying earlier, the main competitors I had to watch out for are the IT companies and the organizations I listed earlier. Those are the main competitors I have to watch out for. So that's one thing I have to watch out for. Um, but the big boss of all the companies is Microsoft. Obviously, Microsoft is very huge in the computers and ICT market. As you can see in the graph, they are ranked number one in the world in market cap. So they have $2.97 trillion of net worth. So obviously, Microsoft is very huge. They have a big customer base. That's one thing I'll have to watch out for. And but what I think we have a slight advantage over Microsoft is the cost. Since our costs will be lower than that, it'll be way easier to buy our product than Microsoft product. And we'll make sure that our quality stays up to par, but not too low compared to Microsoft. So that's the one thing we'll try to take advantage of. And we got another graph right here, just basically just showing how Microsoft compares to other companies in the world. Apple's a really close one, but I don't think that Apple's gonna be a competitor for us because I'm not really focusing on the phones mainly. Well, they have some computers, but Apple is known for their expensive products. So I think we can also take advantage of that as well with our lower price. So my entry strategy when I try to enter Egypt. So the first thing I'll try to do is I would try to form partnerships with the organizations in Egypt. Why I think is the best, I think overall we should team up to take down Microsoft, and it'll also benefit everybody because we can innovate our products and everything. So I think that would be a very good way to enter the market. And but there's also some barriers I have to keep in mind, like the regulations, like the data privacy law. There's a free trade agreement with Europe. So Europeans countries will be our big competitors. So I have to keep that in mind as well. Like I said, the MCIT, they're big, pretty much like everything of the ICT market. So I'll have to be cautious of what I do in the market. And then investment costs, obviously, since I'm entering to a foreign market, it's going to take a lot of money to build facilities and all those other equipments. So having a investor investing in my product will be helpful, and teaming up with other organizations in uh in the country will be very beneficial. Sorry about that. Here, the recommendations I have would be to do tons of research because in that you can never research enough. So entering to a foreign market you have no knowledge of, so researching will be a very beneficial thing. Um, Meetings will be beneficial because try to find investors for your product. Having an investor makes it a lot easier to invest to go into a foreign market. That'll be one thing I'll also keep in mind. And customer service and sustainability on your products. That's one thing that you will need to keep in mind as well. So I'll do that as well. And in this picture is a picture of Microsoft and Egypt coming to agreement to establish computers in Egypt. And here's my references of what I did. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation.